The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, Music Biz community. This is Nicole Hennessy, Vice President of Music Business Association. Hope you're all doing well today. A little earlier than our normal webinars, but Oscar's coming to us from Indonesia. So if we did our normal 2 o'clock hour, he'd be really sleepy. So we are here at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and thank you for being with us. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping things. As we've navigated the COVID situation here in the U.S. Of course, we are not meeting face to face as we're used to doing at Music Biz, but we've brought a great slate of programs to our community and to the industry at large over the past couple of months. And you can find those if you haven't been able to join us. You can find those at musicbiz.org under events, and there's a virtual event hub there, and lots of recordings from our brand summit to our live interview series to our driving change and social justice webinars. Great stuff can be found there. So in your free time, take a chance, visit musicbiz.org and look at some of those recordings. We're finishing out the webinar series here in the month of November. Really great to have Oscar Eichler with us today from SongStats. He's their CEO. And if you have questions for Oscar during the presentation today, there's a questions box on your screen. Go ahead and type them in there. Oscar will answer them when appropriate, and we'll do a Q&A also at the end. So Oscar, without further ado, thank you so much for today's presentation. I'm very excited to listen in. I'm going to put myself on mute and turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Nicole. Yeah, good morning, everybody. It's late over here. We're actually based out in Indonesia, Bali. So it's like 12 midnight right now. I hope everyone is up and awake. So yeah, today we're talking about actionable insights about music data. That's the core of our business, SongStats. We are a music data aggregation system that is mobile first, but we have an awesome desktop dashboard as well, where labels, artists, distributors, everyone, managers can use our platform to discover insights on their music and get notified about them and take action on them. So what we're going to talk about today is the importance of music data. And what is the most important for us is to monitor, to assess, and to execute. I think that is the full circle that we want to go with data, because oftentimes we don't really close that feedback loop. And that's kind of a problem that we see oftentimes with, in general, any reporting tool out there, being it like the Spotify for Artists dashboards or other reporting services for music data analytics. There's always kind of like, okay, I see now that I got added to a playlist, but what now? So basically, something happens, you know about it, but what to do with it? Because if you are able to close that circle, you will take the full round and be able to kind of kickstart like a cycle that kind of keeps on building you up. So that's really where we want to get in, and I'm going to dive a little bit into different topics today that you can apply and learn a little bit more on the research we've been doing, and then also later a little bit how SongStats can help you achieve these things. So in general, since we are a data company, all of our marketing strategies are very data driven. We want to be able to share accomplishments with fans and acknowledge their support, or also other supporters. So let's say you were added to a big playlist by someone, knowing who that person was, maybe reaching out, tagging them, can go a long way. Building a personal relationship with someone who's curating a big playlist is a great way for you to be inside these playlists with multiple releases over an extended period of time. Also, tracking regional growth and strategically investing into particular markets is really interesting. Maybe not so much right now because there's not so much international touring going on, but in general, being able to kind of localize where an audience is coming from, maybe seeing where other artists are trending right now that could have a similar audience is really important, and then kind of like investing into a market, maybe growing there. That's kind of one of the key points as well. Lastly, building and executing a playlist strategy is very critical right now in today's landscape. Everything is shifting towards the digital DSPs. We have Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Amazon now taking a bigger share in music streaming. So what we're going to be looking at in particular right now is going to be Spotify playlists. Spotify is still one of the predominant ecosystems. So and there's a lot of interesting things that we discovered that are not really publicly known, I don't think. We published a few of our findings and of our research in recent articles, and there's still a little bit of new stuff that I'm going to talk about today that we haven't really unveiled anywhere else yet. So Spotify playlist fundamentals. It's probably very clear to a lot of people, but there's three main things that are important about a playlist position. The first thing is the position. You can be added to a big playlist, but if your position is number 200 in a playlist, that really doesn't convert into a lot of streams. It's very unlikely that any listener is going to open that playlist and listen to the same playlist for 200 songs in a row. And even then, if they have it, like, let's say on shuffle or randomize the playlist, the more tracks that inside a playlist, the more unlikely it is that your song is going to get played. Overall, the higher the position, the more streams, the conversion is great. If you are number one in the playlist, anyone that starts that playlist, unless it's shuffled, will start with your song. So being at the top position in the playlist is key. The second thing is followers. So followers can be deceiving. Certain playlists might look great, but they are just kind of like inflated to look amazing, whereas really the followers don't really count so much. Others are maybe a bit smaller but very targeted, and those followers are extremely active and listen to this playlist repeatedly throughout the week or month. So the more active these followers are, the better, because that means that during the time that you are placed, there's a higher number of listeners that will potentially open that playlist and potentially like listen to all the songs in there, so also your track. And then lastly is the Spotify playlist type. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into that because Spotify playlist types are very interesting, and we're going to talk a little bit about the different ones right now. So Spotify playlist types. I'm sure you're all aware that there's editorial playlists on all the different platforms. So Amazon Music right now has only editorial playlists. You have Deezer, which is doing a big chunk of editorial playlists. Also YouTube, all of the YouTube music ecosystem is doing editorial playlists. There's a few like Apple Music who are allowing brands to curate playlists as well, but they're kind of selective about it. And then you have Spotify, of course, with their huge editorial playlist ecosystem. And the difference here with Spotify to a lot of the other platforms is that they also allow listeners to curate public playlists. That is quite unique. For example, Apple Music right now kind of keeps their ecosystem restricted to brands and their own editorial content. But on Spotify, you have over 50 million listener playlists that are publicly available and essentially are making fans and turning them into curators and tastemakers, so that if you really convert a listener into a fan and he throws your song into a playlist, that can result into even more of their friends listening to the song. So that's editorial playlists, and then we have listener playlists. Now we come to a few others. So at Songsets, we also consider artist playlists, listener playlists, which are curated by artists, to be kind of a unique type. So an artist playlist is essentially a playlist that you as an artist curate and pin to your profile. So through Spotify for Artists, you're able to pin your public playlist to your artist profile and essentially making that your official artist playlist. And at Songsets, we are kind of finding those and are tagging them accordingly, so that if you look at your data, you can see that a certain playlist that might just be a generic listener playlist is actually an artist playlist curated by an artist, which might be interesting to you, seeing that someone else is supporting your songs, seeing that someone else is pushing, I don't know, kind of your music style, or For example, it's worth reaching out and maybe working on a collaboration together in the future. Now, there's two playlist types which are oftentimes misunderstood. So algorithmic playlists, those are the playlists entirely generated by the algorithm from Spotify. So those include like Discover Weekly or the Release Radar, which is essentially there to and completely unique to every listener. And those playlists are fairly difficult to influence because essentially the algorithm will choose by taste and kind of see how popular your song is, and we'll dive a little bit into that later. But in general, they are highly customized to the listening behavior of the audience and of the user. And there are ways, for example, to get your song guaranteed on some of them. One of the ways to do that is to get your song onto the Release Radar playlist is by submitting it through the Spotify for Artists dashboard at least 1 week ahead of the release. And that is important. So if you deliver your song too late through your distributor to Spotify and the other DSPs, you will lose that window of submitting it in time to Spotify's playlist consideration, or at least to be included into the Release Radar playlist, which is important. So we highly recommend you delivering your sound recordings early so that it shows up in your Spotify for Artists dashboard at least 1 week ahead of time, so you're able to submit it. Spotify has a very built out editorial system and dashboard where they can monitor all the suggestions that are coming in. And all the editorial playlists are curated through this dashboard that they're using. So if you don't submit your song through Spotify for Artists for playlist consideration, it will not get picked up by editorial playlists in most cases, unless you have a really strong personal relationship with one of the editors or curators. But in general, always submit your song. This is important for multiple reasons. One of the big reasons being that you actually can start and talk a little bit about your song. And you should remember that all the editors and all the curators at Spotify are humans. So you giving them a little bit of context of why this track that just got out is important to you. How did it come along? Who made it? What was the story behind it? Can go a really long way. So make use of that. Also, make use of giving Spotify more information about your song, like the instruments that were used, the genre, the language. All this information will go and feed into the algorithm so that it can highly target the audience that you're looking for. So the more information you feed into the system, the better for Spotify, and ultimately the better for your streaming. And I hope that you all take advantage of that. Now, personalized playlists are the most interesting and misunderstood playlists out there. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into them because we did quite some extensive research on how they're working. So Spotify's personalized playlists. Spotify internally is actually calling them algotorial playlists. Now, what does that mean? That means that they are hybrids between algorithmic playlists, so playlists curated by an algorithm, and editorial playlists. So they're the perfect combination being algotorial. Algotorial is really interesting because that basically means that they are editors and curators who influence the playlist, but also there's an algorithm that kind of tailors it to your taste. So how does this work? Well, Spotify is actually choosing a base set of tracks which are available in this playlist. And if you were to open a playlist like this, and currently there's quite a few of these personalized playlists out there. So these are essentially editorial playlists that have this like personalized tag on them. Dance Party is one of them. There's a few other really big ones. But these playlists are essentially, first there's an editor process going through, and any user that would open that playlist right now in like an incognito private browser, for example, would see the exact same playlist. So for everyone, position number 1 would be position number 1, and then for everyone, position number 10 would be position number 10. But now the interesting thing that happens is the moment that you sign in And the moment you're logged in, this all changes. And suddenly tracks go all over the place, some being switched out of the playlist, some are getting into the playlist. And this for us as a data company is really hard to keep track of. So we tried to find a great solution of how to look into it. And we dug a little bit into Spotify's backend to understand how those playlists are working. And we found some really interesting things. So the first thing that is very interesting is that they are pinned positions, meaning that anyone that is logged in will still see certain songs pinned to a specific position. Meaning that, for example, and those are timestamp related. So that, let's say in this week, basically from Monday to next Monday, a given track would be pinned to position number 1. So even though the entire playlist is customized and shuffled around, any listener would still have this exact same song pinned to position number 1. And we see this kind of happening per week. There's around 30 to 40 tracks which are pinned to certain positions, so that the playlist kind of still feels edited, but the other songs in between are kind of shuffled around, and they're pretty much customized towards the listening behavior of the audience. Now, there is also a phenomenon that we kind of call priority tracks. So certain songs, and it's usually the top 10 in the playlist, they are flagged as being prioritized. And when the playlist starts to shuffle, those tracks will always try to get up on the top of the playlist, while all the others, they don't care about that. So essentially, these are also picked by the curators of Spotify to determine certain priority tracks within a playlist, and then having them be towards the top of it. Meaning that even though those playlists are personalized, and even though those playlists are driven by the algorithm, and usually these are some of Spotify's best performing playlists, they're still heavily edited and heavily kind of tilted towards their editorial team. So being able to, again, to have a strong relationship with the editors and securing one of these pin positions or priority tracks is a really important thing. We are at the moment working on a solution where we can track if your song is one of the pin positions in one of the personalized playlists and notify you about that, and also to which position it is pinned to, and also if your song is a priority track in one of these personalized playlists. Now, what you can see on the left side, and Spotify just published this recently, it was just a couple of days ago, is all the things that influence Spotify's algorithm in picking up your song. And there's a few things in here which might be a little bit unexpected. So for example, with artist inputs, they mean the submission through Spotify for Artists. Also musical elements you can declare and submit through Spotify for Artists. Song length is interesting. I think this will mostly relate to electronic music, where you have extended mixes that go for 6 minutes, as opposed to short songs, radio versions of songs, and that again comes down to listening behavior of a user. Tempo, of course. I mean, a lot of things influence it, and Spotify claims himself that even social shares are influencing the algorithm and the personal recommendations. Meaning that if your song is being shared a lot on socials, and predominantly, for example, if you use Spotify's internal sharing features like share to your story, they will be able to track this because they have a backlink that they use through Instagram sharing, where they can track how many people are sharing, how many people are then clicking on that little play now on Spotify that sits right under the name on the story. And for example, that's also an interesting question that we sometimes get asked, is that if you share the Spotify track link, there will always be this weird identifier behind it, which there's like a question mark, and then there's like another string of like 20 characters. And most people, to make the link look better, they just delete that. This is actually a tracking link, so they can see how often and from which user this was shared. And this is actually helping Spotify to determine also what kind of users are clicking on, for example, your link that you shared, and then tie them together so that they know which kind of users have a similar taste or are connected. Now, I mean, you could use that to your advantage. Maybe what you want to do if you don't want the link to look bad and keep the extension is to use a short link or a link shortener to make it look a little bit better. Let's dive into the Spotify popularity index, because this is a very unique insight into the Spotify algorithm. So I'm not so sure how many of you have seen Spotify popularity in action, and I'm guessing most of you only seen it on the right side of a track when you look at it in the desktop app of Spotify. So you usually have the track name and then the artist, and then on the right side you have like a little bar that is like full, and usually it's around like the middle. Sometimes it's very full, sometimes it's not so full. This is the popularity index, but it's really hard to read in Spotify's own client. The good news is that Spotify provides that to developers like us through their backend API. So we can actually read the Spotify popularity of a track pretty much in numbers. And it is an index that is determined on a scale from 0 to 100. 100 being the highest, 0 being the lowest. And it is influenced heavily by how much traction a track can generate. The interesting thing is that not just songs have a Spotify popularity, but also artists themselves. So essentially, Spotify is ranking every release and your artist profile as a whole on a scale from 0 to 100 on how popular it is right now. And the higher your popularity, the more likely Spotify's algorithm is to keep recommending you and to keep throwing you into more algorithmic playlists, into more personalized playlists. And ultimately, those playlists will result in the highest amount of streams over an extended period of time. The reason for that is that the editorial playlists are usually kept fresh. The editors keep on throwing new songs in there. They might be kind of updated every 2 weeks, and then or in the case, for example, of New Music Friday playlists, every Friday they update. So even if you make it in there, that's a nice kickstart, and it will certainly influence your popularity. But after that, the streams that are coming in will keep on coming through personalized playlists by people keep on listening to you on repeat. So why is this so important? The importance of Spotify popularity is that it gives you a little bit of insight of how well your track is doing, what Spotify's algorithm right now thinks of it, and then also if your campaigns to improve this value are actually successful. So that brings us to the question, how can we influence Spotify popularity? Well, there's a few factors. It's not so easy. Let's talk about the track level first. So Spotify popularity, you can see it as almost like a clean slate the moment a new track comes out, because Spotify doesn't really have a good concept of how popular that song could potentially be. The track could be by Red Hot Chili Peppers and become extremely successful, or it could be by a really unknown indie artist and also become extremely successful. But Spotify doesn't know that. So at the beginning, the first week of a release is the most important. If you are off to a great start on the first week and are ranking up on a high popularity and quite some streams, you will keep getting recurring streams and plays. So having a strong first release week is the most important thing that can happen to your release. And it's we really encourage everyone to kind of take the actions to their own hands and really try to push hard. Afterwards, it's actually not even that important anymore, because once the song starts flowing, it will just keep on doing its thing. Now, what can you do? Ahead of release, we highly recommend to run a pre-save campaign. This is something that has been applied a lot in electronic music right now, but not so much outside of electronic music. It is one of the single best things you can do to actually use the time ahead of a release well in order to boost your popularity and boost your streams on release day. So how does this work? There's a few platforms out there. One of them is presave.io, and there's a few others. They have certain free campaigns, and then there's some that you could pay for. Presave.io, for example, offers like a gold tier, and essentially what they're doing then is that you're even able to access the email addresses of everyone that authorized the pre-save through the dashboard. And that's extremely interesting because that also means anyone that authorized their Spotify access once, you can target again in the future with ads, maybe with an email campaign if you ask for permission, or with a future pre-save campaign as well. That's also a possibility, that you can basically build up a database of people that authorize you to save songs into their liked songs on your behalf, and then essentially have them save each one of your new releases in the future to their collection on release day. And this is extremely important because what this helps you do and achieve is that on release day, you can essentially get a huge number of people. Let's say you have a database of 500 or 1,000 fans right now that have authorized a pre-save. Those people will essentially all add the song to their collection and to their liked songs on the day of release. And that means that they are more likely to listen to it. That means Spotify's algorithm is seeing, wow, these 500 people just saved it to their collection, give it a high spike in popularity, but also it helps Spotify's algorithm to profile this audience. And this is almost the most important thing, because essentially they will know that these 500 listeners like this song. So they're looking at the listening behavior of these fans and recommend your track to other listeners with a similar taste. And that's kind of the key thing about this. The more you teach the algorithm of what your target audience is by sharing it with your fans, the more successful Spotify's targeting will be, and the more potentially new fans you'll reach through algorithmic playlists and editorial playlists, etc. So how else can this be influenced? Sharing it a lot across social media, especially on the first week. Being really proactive about it, and we will show it in a minute here how song sets can play a role in that. And then also, yeah, just in general, I don't know, sharing it, getting it out there, talking about support. So if you're added to a playlist, share that too. I think is really important. And then have a strong first week. So now, how does Songstats come into play for all this? So Songstats is a mobile-first music analytics service, meaning that you can download the app on your phone and get push notifications about anything that happens to your music. And that this is cross-platform. So all the most important streaming services and download stores we aggregate data from, so you get a comprehensive overview for every release, but also your entire catalog. And because you receive push notifications, you don't ever really need to look into the charts anymore. You don't ever need to check the playlist every time. You will essentially be notified as soon as you reach a new chart position, as soon as you are being added to a playlist. So it's really convenient. There's a real-time activity feed, and this is probably the most unique feature of Songstats, is that what we're doing is you're being able, and you can see this here on the left side, we give you a chronological feed in which we present you with all the updates that are happening to the releases of your entire catalog. So right now, here on the left side, we're looking at the profile of Lil Uzi Vert, and today, in the screenshot, he got added to Beats and Rhymes on Spotify. So he immediately sees that pop up in his feed, and he can now, for example, click this sharing icon that you see right under the Spotify icon here, and share this directly to his Instagram story, so that he can engage with his fans, get them to listen to it as well, and maybe thank the supporter or the curator for playlisting it. You can also see, for example, in this case, an iTunes chart position. You can also see an Apple Music chart position. Anything that's interesting to him, he can see there. This can be highly customized as well, so that if you're a bigger artist, you might not want to get spammed by all the little notifications, so you can set a higher threshold of the information and the activities that you wanna receive. But in general, it helps you to see all your key performance information and anything that is important to you, and you don't need to dig for it anymore. Now, we have an artist and label dashboard on desktop, which is a great power tool for any manager, for any label to be using to see everything in one place. So you get a full summary of all time and recent achievements. You can see the full development of how every track performed, how many streams you receive, what's your current popularity, what are the biggest players you're in right now, and we'll dive into that a little bit in the demo in a second. And yeah, you can see trending releases and get a full picture of the track performance. Now, the custom sharing artworks, they're one of our ways at the moment to make it and close the feedback loop, what we talked about at the very beginning. So let's say you actually have a new playlist ad. That's great because now you will reach, let's say, 100,000 more listeners throughout that week. But what is even more important that you don't let that go unnoticed, because a lot of these things, and it clearly depends a little bit on the size of an artist, a lot of these accomplishments are important and exciting for an artist's career, and fans want to be knowing that your artist is doing well. So for you to share these to your Instagram story, and with Songsets is literally just a click of one button, is the most easy thing and most effective thing that you can do. So we're automatically generating these, and you can pretty much with a click of a button share them to Instagram. It opens your Instagram story. You can tag whoever you want and share them right away. Also, we created 8 new different artwork styles, so that for any artist and for any branding type and music style, we now have a different sharing artwork. So there's some more bright ones with nice colors. There's some more techy ones that are a little bit darker and cool, so that you can swipe through and find one that you really like. Ultimately, the goal here is to create momentum. We want to celebrate milestones, recognize supporters, and kind of like spiral up and build on new accomplishments. So that if you make it into the charts, you share it, you recognize the supporter, build a personal relationship. Maybe an artist that playlisted you in the artist playlist, reach out to them, thank them. They will keep supporting you in the future. Maybe you work on something together, and it kind of becomes a little bit more proactive in your music data. Right now, we have 11 data sources. So as we can see here, we recently introduced Deezer, YouTube, and TikTok. These are our latest 3 data source integrations that we introduced over the summer. We have SoundCloud, TrackSource, iTunes, Beatport, Shazam. We have 1001 Tracklist, Spotify, and Apple Music. And also later this month, we'll be introducing Amazon Music as a new full integration. The interesting part about Amazon Music is that you will also be able to see when you get featured by Amazon Music in any of the different territories. Amazon Music actually has a edited and curated store in, I believe, 10 different territories, so that if you are being featured or playlisted or reach the charts in different regions, we'll notify you about it. And Amazon right now is a really interesting source that a lot of people are very interested in. They're paying very well, and they're definitely investing a lot right now into the industry and becoming one of the giants like Spotify and Apple Music. So we certainly believe that this integration is very interesting. And now another integration that is following soon after will be Instagram. Instagram Reels is the new competitor that Facebook is introducing to TikTok. Some might say it's pretty much a ripoff, but that's kind of it's a very popular format right now to share music content and to share dance videos. There's been a bit of a controversy about TikTok in the United States and also in India over the summer, so we'll see how they hold up. But it's a very interesting move by Instagram to introduce a feature like this with Instagram Reels. It's still being rolled out in different territories. But what we are doing right now is looking into being able to track exactly how many Instagram Reels were created with your song, then how many shares, how many views did these accumulate, and then you being able to see all the top performing Reels videos that were created by fans, and you can share them as well. So that will be very similar to our TikTok integration, where essentially for every song you can see all the top performing TikTok videos that were created, or then soon to be having Instagram Reel videos. And they're essentially free marketing content. And that's really how you should see these. Essentially, fans are creating free material for you that you can share with dances, and we highly recommend that you take advantage of that. Maybe call out for a contest or a dancing competition or something like this, because ultimately that will only lead to more people engaging and discovering your new release, and then also saving it to their collection. I think that's kind of where the market is heading, where these type of platforms with short form user generated content are becoming increasingly more powerful. So embracing that is extremely valuable, and will become even more valuable over time. So let's dive a little bit into a demo and see all this in action. So right now up here, we got Don Diablo's activity feed. So what we can see right now is that we're in the overview, and maybe I turn off my camera for this so that you can have a better overview of this. So the activity feed here at the moment is presenting you an overview of all the different sources. So anything that happens to Don's music right now will show up here. So for example, today his track Mr. Brightside entered the Beatport charts at position number 11. Also, you got added to 3 big Spotify playlists. The biggest one being this official Spotify playlist here, Fresh Pop, with 60,000 followers. Now he can dive into this track, Kill Me Better, and then see a comprehensive overview of how this track is performing on the different sources. So for example, here now we have Kill Me Better, and we see this now on Spotify. We can see it accumulated 1.4 million streams. It currently has a popularity of 64, and then we can see a full table of all the playlists that featured him, including their type, what we talked about earlier as well. So Beast Mode being the biggest one that he got featured in, Beast Mode being a personalized playlist, he was position number 16. That might not be true because it is a personalized playlist. So he might have been position number 16 for any locked out user. For locked in users, this has been reshuffled and rearranged. New Music Friday being a really big one, and always being in there for 7 days, of course. So you can see and sort this exactly by follower number, and we can also look at positions over time. So for example, let's dive here into Pop Rising. It's been in there for 7 days. This seems to be a very recent release, and it's been at position 43 since ever it entered. If it changes, you will see that as well. So maybe let's look into New Music Friday, but it seems like it was only position 31. It's a very recent release, so there hasn't been many position changes, but you can track them as well. We can also filter this not just by all playlists, but for example, by current playlists, or also by previous playlists, so some that he got removed from. So for example, in Pop All Day, he was only in that playlist for 5 days, and he got removed a few days ago. You can also add your own playlist. Currently, we're tracking over 50 million playlists on Spotify. And in order to do that, we actually have a sort of hierarchy in place that introduces kind of a schedule of how frequently certain playlists are updating. All the important playlists are updating every 2 hours so that you're being notified right away the moment your song is in one of them. Smaller playlists are updated then every 6 hours, 12 hours, or 24 hours. So a playlist, for example, with let's say 250 followers will only update once a day. But then the more important playlists will update more frequently. Now we can also look, for example, at the streaming numbers and kind of see them develop over time. So it started out on Saturday, and he only had 9,000 streams and a popularity of 0. And then he increased this very significantly in the first few days, and you can immediately see that essentially on the first day already, Spotify was very sure that the popularity is going to be extremely high and has it at 57. So within 1 day, obviously making 400,000 streams as well, he was able to tell the algorithm that he is a significant release. And since then, it only has grown a little bit more to 63. But yeah, he's making quite a significant amount of streams right now every day with this release. Now, Spotify is very extensive, has a lot of playlists, but we also can switch between the different sources, and then, for example, look at Apple Music and then see how he's performing on Apple Music. So he's currently in 11 playlists, not in any charts, and then we can see all the playlists that are supporting him. The interesting thing here, and we can see that on this track, is that we also have a countries like column here. And the reason for that is that editorial playlists on Apple Music are special in that they can be curated differently in different regions, meaning that the same playlist could be different if you open it in Germany than if you, for example, open it in the US. So they're curating their big editorial playlists separately in different regions. You can export all this data as like a CSV or a PDF. So you can download this here and then get a lifetime report of it. And also of all the data sources combined into one PDF report if you want to use that for your own reporting. But what's interesting with Spotify is that our system smartly aggregates multiple uploads of the same track on a platform. So actually the data that you see here is aggregated from 4 different Spotify tracks. And the reason for that is that this track got uploaded 4 times to Spotify, likely on different labels, or likely, for example, for a compilation release. Maybe there was an extended mix and a radio mix. Maybe it got sub-licensed to a different territory. There's a lot of reasons why a song would be uploaded multiple times, even though it is the exact same sound recording. So what we are doing is smartly finding those duplicates and then combining them all into one place, so that what you see here is a kind of a comprehensive picture and good summary of the track information. Now we have different sources as well. I could skip through these a little bit. Deezer is one of our recent additions. We can see playlists here. We also have charts. Charts are only visible if you actually make it into the charts. So right now he hasn't made it yet, but this is a very recent release. We can see again here as well who are the editors, and it seems like there's a lot of editorial playlists here. We can look into TikTok a little bit and see if this track hasn't been picked up on TikTok yet. That can happen sometimes, so it comes out a little bit later on TikTok. We can check YouTube and see kind of the views, but it doesn't seem like we have or maybe he hasn't published the full music video for this one yet. In general, if any link is missing, we're aggregating a lot of links automatically, mostly all of them. But in case we're missing any, you can also add it yourself. Just throw it in here, add it, and it will be immediately being picked up, and we collect data on it. Let's dive back into the activity feed and check a few of the other sources. So for example, what we can check is Shazam. We have Shazam charts in different countries, but also cities. You won't see the cities for Don because I have his activity settings up here currently toggled to be fairly high. So he's at the top end at the moment, meaning that he will only receive high-level notifications and not the ones that are smaller. So for example, you wouldn't see release charts on Beatport right now, and you wouldn't see like smaller playlists, or for example, city-level charts on Shazam, because he's too big of an artist, and otherwise he would be spammed by too much notifications. I'm not so sure how applicable right now the electronic music sources are to the attendees currently in here. I'll skip through these really quick. 1001 Tracklist is a platform that's also run by us. It's a track listing database where we collect data from all the different DJ sets and radio shows out there. So we can see and track every time someone plays your music, another DJ performs your music live. So for example, here this was played on the Mix TV, or here was played in a Twitch live stream by an artist, and we can track that, and then you can see other artists that are supporting you. On Beatport, we are tracking your chart positions in the different genres, and you can see these over time. Traxsource is the same. It's a house focused store. I'm not so sure. Yep, Don also has some Traxsource releases. And then we have iTunes and SoundCloud with Amazon Music and Instagram to come very soon. So we also can look a little bit at the artist level analytics. So for example, on Spotify, we're talking about Spotify popularity. And this is something that you can actually visualize as well here in the dashboard. And you can see popularity over time together with your monthly listeners over time. And we can kind of see there's a little bit of a correlation. So the higher your popularity and the higher your monthly listeners, usually the more monthly listeners, the higher your popularity will go as well. But here his monthly listeners dropped off a bit, but still his popularity is pretty stable. So that's pretty interesting. We can see his total streams, which is an interesting metric as well. Maybe for some of you that's interesting, all the streams combined across all the different releases. And that can also be applied to labels. So right now we're looking at the artist profile, but we also support label profiles. So you can look, for example, let's type in Ministry of Sound. So then we could search for their label profile here, and we could see all their label analytics. They probably have a lot of tracks that are doing really well. But so this is also interesting for labels to see all of their releases. So we can look in their catalog right now, and this catalog is automatically being aggregated for every subscribed artist or label twice a day. Meaning that if you have a new release out, we'll automatically pull that in right away and make sure that you have data on it straight away. And here in the catalog page, you can also see all the different media links that we have for the track. So in case we're missing one, for example, here it looks like for Me and You, there's no YouTube link yet. That might be because they are currently not subscribed, so our automated jobs don't pick up all of them. But you could also add it manually yourself if you wanted to. Now, all this, everything that you've seen so far is available as well on the mobile app, including the sharing. And yeah, overall, I think that mostly wraps up this little demo about song stats. I really hope that you learned something. I hope that you are being proactive about your music data, about discovering it and using good tools to do so. There's amazing free solutions out there, like, for example, let's switch this back. Actually, I had a, how do I move this back? Sorry about this. I lost my presentation. I don't know where it went. It's all right. So in general, I'm hoping everyone is being more proactive about music data. I think using a tool like SongStats can be a great way of saving time and never missing anything that's important or missing a highlight. So for example, you might not really check your Deezer stats too often because it's maybe not one of the sources that you are too focused on and you wouldn't usually check it. But it might be that you're currently in the charts there in the US, or it might be that you got picked up by some really big players and are trending there, you wouldn't even know unless we notify you about it. So for that reason, and I think also for the reason that more and more platforms are coming out there providing different types of engagement and audiences, a platform like SongSets will become more and more valuable over time. Now, I don't know why I lost my presentation. I quickly wanted to touch on pricing here as well. We try to be as affordable as possible with everything that we're doing. An artist subscription is 10 euros per month. A label subscription is 15 euros per month. And you can invite as many team members as you want. So for example, I'm right now subscribed to all these artists here and these labels. So then you have these quick toggles in between. So you have like shortcuts to dive in. And then if I go into settings right now and then go into my team management, I can invite, I'm the admin right now, I can invite more team members and you can invite an unlimited amount of them. So that, yeah, with one access, you can share it with everyone, invite the artists themselves, or invite your manager or your label, so that, or your PR person, so that they can all share the same access and you can see how successful your campaigns are, and see any new accomplishment that comes in and share that on your socials and kind of close that loop and keep building your career. So yeah, thanks so much for having me today. I'm gonna go through the questions now and see what we have here. I see there's quite a few, so let me try to answer them. First question by Silky. Are you German? Yes, I am German, as you can probably tell by my accent. Hi, back to Nashville. I hope you guys are doing all right. I know it's been a stressful week for all the Americans. Am I the only one who has garbled audio? I cannot tell. I hope not. I would add monthly listeners over followers. So we have both on Song Stats. So we provide, well, on a label level, there is no monthly listeners or followers, but if we go back to an artist, so let's dive in here really quick and let's go into Medusa. We will see both the monthly listeners over time and also the followers over time. Followers are actually becoming more and more valuable in Spotify's ecosystem. And I recently, I think it was even here in the Music Biz webinar of Spotify, they were talking about how follower numbers are becoming increasingly more important for the ecosystem, and basically you being able to engage with your followers and getting your songs in front of them. So definitely encourage people to follow. You can also do that, for example, through pre-save campaigns, so that anyone that authorizes you to save to their collection also can follow a playlist or can follow artist profiles at your liking. So that is very interesting. We have an okay cool, which is nice. Let's see what else is here. Some people are having audio problems. I'm sorry about that. I don't really know what to do about that. Is it true that only one artist can submit on Spotify if there are multiple artists in one song? For example, if both artists submit, will it just take whoever first submitted? No, they will actually take whoever last submitted, and it's true. I think multiple people can submit the same song, but you can only have one submitted song at the same time. And also they changed their system a little bit because they closed Spotify analytics for labels recently, and now labels have access to the artists instead. It's a little bit of a weird system. We are not so sure why they did it, but honestly, if you're a label, then now the solution that we are providing for you as a label is a million times better than what Spotify for Artists are doing, because you don't really have a comprehensive overview there at all anymore, and it's very confusing why they did that. So yeah, I think you can submit it once as an artist, and you can also submit it once as a label. I'm not so sure if it overrides it, but I think it does. So if you submit a second time, whatever you wrote the second time will override the first. They will only have one submission, and they will read whatever got submitted last. Don't submit just one day ahead of release. They need some time. So as explained earlier, at least 1 week, preferably 2 weeks ahead of release, what makes a lot of sense. Can you see what specific songs are added or removed from a playlist? Yes, you can. So for example, let's dive into a track here. This will probably take a little bit to load. Piece of Your Heart is one of the biggest songs of the year. So there's probably a lot, because we also have 73 links for this track. It got picked up so often. This will take a second. But yeah, what we can look at here now is that we can see all playlists, but we can also filter this by previous playlists. So then we can see exactly when it got added, when it got removed. And then we can also see kind of the positioning over time. So if we check up on this, we can kind of see how it developed in the position. So for example, today's top hits, it started at 28, moved all the way up to 19, and then faded out and went out. That was last year actually. So, and also here on this view, we can also see the chart positions. So this song made it into a lot of charts. And yeah, we can again filter this by current or previous. So yeah, let's see what else is here. For stream count, are you using Spotify's number based on 1 second of play or more, or 30 seconds? The other DSPs are using 30 seconds for play count, and it's what right holders are paid on. We're using Spotify's numbers, and Spotify's numbers are also determined by 30 seconds. I'm pretty certain about that. So if you listen or if someone listens and it counts as a play on Spotify, we only report the data that we receive from Spotify in that case. So however they define a play, we're just picking up the numbers, so we don't have anything to say about that. This was fantastic. Thanks for your time. Thanks so much for having me. Are you familiar with Chartmetric? How would you compare with a company like them? That's a great question. I saw that Chartmetric is also one of the associate members of MusicBiz. So they're doing an amazing job in being much more of like I would say like a industry solution for like big data, and we are way more targeted towards individual artists or labels. So if you're using it, if you're using Chartmetric on like an A&R level or like a high level research, then they're definitely doing a little bit more. They're deriving data more and kind of looking more into like yeah, like deep data analytics, where we are pretty much way more recent, way more snappy, easier to use, more shareable, and very targeted to you as an artist, so that you can receive all this information on your phone, get push notifications, and also way more affordable. So yeah. Are there different tiers of options at different prices? So no, usually not. We have a 10 euros per month plan per artist, 15 euros per month for a label. And then we also have a professional tier, which is 75 euros per month. And that allows you to view all the data on the platform for any artist, for any label, and then link as many of your artists. If you have a bigger roster, that can be a great tier. If you are interested in multiple artists or multiple labels, please reach out. We can always like create kind of like a package and give a nice discount there. But our pricing is artist, label, or professional, and then see everything and use it a little bit more like Chartmetric on like a higher level and research other artists. There's a lot of questions here. This is awesome. Thanks so much, everyone, for asking these. Thanks for the great presentation. Stay safe and rock on. Thanks so much, Silky. Really talking about playlist followers. Playlist followers. Yeah, I mean, so if you look into a playlist, you can sort these by followers. I'm not so sure what the question is otherwise. They're filtered by followers by default, but you can also filter by or like sorted by anything else. Yeah. What else is here? Hi, from your earlier discussion, where can we find the Spotify popularity info? You can find that right here on like a track level. So if you're looking at a track, you can see the popularity right here. So then we can also dive into that and load that up. And then we'll show you the popularity over time and also the streams over time. So this track has been doing really great, being at 86, and then the streams have been ranking up to 630 million at this point. What we can see here, though, is that popularity is pretty difficult to get much higher than like this track has been one of the biggest tracks of the year, and it only reached popularity 86. So actually being at 100 is close to impossible. Let's see what else is here. Can you detail cost and pricing again, please? I hope I just did. But yeah, it's 10 euros per month. I can actually share that here as well, I think, from our homepage. Yeah, actually it's here. So it's 10 euros per month for an artist, 15 euros per month for a label, 75 euros per month for a professional tier. And any of the subscriptions comes with a free, a full 30-day free trial. So I would love to encourage you to just sign up, try it out for yourself, and then see how you like it and how it fits into your workflow. We see a lot of people really enjoying working with it because it streamlines a lot of their workflow. So can you show track level analytics screen in your dashboard and note any differences from what you showed for the artist level? Of course. So the track level analytics are showing kind of the track metadata here on the top, by who it is and on which labels it got released. And any data that you see here, like the playlists, are specific to that particular track, and the charts are to that particular track. Now, if we go back and go into the artist analytics, we will see the full overview of like all the playlists you've been in, what was your combined playlist reach, your total streams across all your songs, your current monthly listeners, current followers, current popularity. And then we also show recently playlisted songs. We show the top current playlists that you are in. So for example, they are currently in Songs to Sing in the Car, Beast Mode, and a few other really big playlists like Mint. And then also, what are your top currently playlisted tracks? So it's a little bit of like a chart view of like what is doing extremely well right now. Their latest release, Paradise, doing really good with reaching 77 million followers right now through the Spotify playlist that they're in. And this view is also applicable to all the other sources. So for example, on Apple Music, we can also see the same thing. We can see the top playlists that they're in on Apple Music. We can see how many charts they were in. So it's more like a artist level, how well are you doing across the board. And you could almost use that a little bit as a resume as well, how an artist is performing cross-platform. I think we're almost at the end here now. Let me try to read the last few questions. What free resources for music data are breaking down the analytics do you recommend looking into? definitely Spotify for artists, Apple Music for artists. There's now Amazon Music for artists, even though that is in the very early stages still. Deezer has a platform called Backstage, and Beatport doesn't offer anything. TikTok doesn't offer anything. YouTube just recently launched YouTube Analytics for artists. Usually the big DSPs, they definitely offer free dashboards to view all this, but it can get a little bit overwhelming to look into each one of them individually, and they're not so focused on giving you playlist notifications and chart positions information. It's more about kind of maybe more territorial data or more demographic data. Is this webinar video going to be available for review later? I believe so. I would have to ask, but I think we were recording this and it's going to be up on the website afterwards. How do you develop a personal relationship with editors or playlist curators? With editorial playlist curators, it's a little bit difficult. They've been trying to close that system down and kind of make them like submit everything through the submission form now, for example, for Spotify. You can always, if you know who's the curator, try to reach out. LinkedIn is a great resource to find. I mean, for example, on Deezer, they even give the names of all the editors, so you could possibly just find their contact information, just reach out, thank them if they support you in the past, and maybe send them the new release ahead of time and build that relationship. But that's obviously a little bit of a time-consuming task, but it can come a long way. Also with independent playlist curators, for example. And there's also platforms like SubmitHub that can help. So SubmitHub kind of streamlines reaching kind of third-party curators, blogs, YouTube channels, influencers, and also listener playlists. For the 15 euros per month option, what do you count as a label? I manage a few artists, but my artists technically released without a proper label. Then that will count as artist subscriptions. So the label really means that you're a record label, and it's a little bit more expensive because we aggregate the data. It's a little bit more difficult to aggregate the label data. So if you have multiple artists, you would need like 2 or 3 artist subscriptions. But in this case, please reach out and we can kind of make a package deal here, so you don't have to pay for all of them the full price. Rachel, what would you say is a good number to aim for with the popularity index? Anything that is like close to 50 is already amazing. Like we don't really see it very often that anything goes above 50. Anything that's above 50 is like very trendy. So it's very normal to be in like the 15s, the 20s. Being at the 40s is already a really great achievement, and getting much above that is fairly difficult. It obviously depends on the size of an artist, but to get a better understanding of this as well, a lot of the data that you've seen here is also available for free. Like all this data, for example, that you see on this screen here right now is actually available for free if you just go to Songstat. So you can also search for your artist and kind of view popularity data and just compare yourself a little bit by yourself to get a better context here. Who should you contact to do a demo for students at our university? Me, just send me an email. I'm not so sure if we're sharing my email afterwards, but maybe I can type it here, but I can type it maybe as an answer here really quick. It's just Oscar with a K at songstats.com. Yeah, I guess I answered this here, I hope. So please just reach out, and I'll be happy to get in touch. If an artist has 2 separate outfits, solo and band, can they still register as an artist and have access to 2 streams of data? They would probably need to have, if it's 2 separate profiles and they have 2 separate profiles on Spotify. Usually we don't combine them. Usually we keep them separate, so they would have to have 2 different ones, and then they can have the toggle between these. But in this case, again, please reach out or just quickly send us an email, and we can find a good compromise here. Maybe we can even add the second band on top of it for free, so that you see it all in like one plan, but we won't like mash together the data of 2 different projects. That would only cause problems in the long run. Last question here by Dino. With a 75 euro option, will I have access to any label data, or would I have to submit the labels and artists I want info for? You have access to any label data. You can search for any artist or label. In case we don't have the artist yet in the database, you can submit it or just like paste in their Spotify link. So on the bottom here, you can request to add an artist, and you can then also go to any catalog page and then click import tracks. So we'll import all the data, and then you'll see everything there. So with that here, you can see everything, and then all the labels and artists that you're mostly interested in, we can connect them with your account for free. So you still have the shortcuts. You can receive push notifications for them, and they will be prioritized in our data pipeline so that we update their data more frequently. But yeah, I think that's about it. Maybe had overshot it a little bit. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning. I know it's been an interesting week for everyone. Well, I hope there's something you can take away. I love to encourage you to just sign up for the free trial. We offer a free month for free. Just sign up, invite your team, download the mobile app. It's a really fun experience to see new notifications roll in, and they're really close to your heart anyway because they have to do with your music, and I think that's it's one of the more exciting notifications we get throughout the day if we got added to a big playlist. So yeah, thanks so much everyone, and also really appreciate all the questions and any feedback or input or ideas or requests you have. Please email me, Oscar, that's Oscar with a K, at songstats.com, and I'll be happy to help or to kind of see if we can implement something that could be helpful to you. Awesome.
Thank you, Oscar. A very insightful presentation. Thanks you all for joining us today as well. We hope to see you back on the Common Ground webinar series shortly. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.